So we'll go through this asserting sovereignty presentation, and then we can, let's see. Yeah, it's almost 12 o'clock, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 12:05.
12:05?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is, it's going to take a while. Do we want to do lunch first, or what do you think? It's up to you guys.
Well, I know Nelson's gone to pick somebody up.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's why he had to leave.
Okay.
Couldn't find the way, so he's gone to get them.
Okay. Well, we can continue going through it then, or we can go to lunch. We can have a lunch break. So whatever.
Might give us some time to figure out what happened with the YouTube live stream. So
Well,
we can make that come back again for the people that were, because we had 60 plus,
I know.
70 people. That
Well,
wanted to watch
it's saving right now.
Yeah, it's trying to save the original one that dropped.
Right, it's gone really, because it should have. If it was saving, it'd be right here.
Is it not giving you an option? You go back to that tab again.
Right here. Showing us right here. Maybe they just have to process it. So they're showing the comments. So there's some of the comments.
It is up there. It shows until you dropped it. So.
Yeah, it's 53 minutes. Well, it got dropped,
Yeah.
but and there's a link. I think that maybe they're just processing it or something. I guess, eh? Anyways. So maybe they're just processing or something, but I can tell you that it's not in my list of videos. There's the list of videos right here. Howdy. Oh, look at that. There it is. Stream. Hi, how's it going?
Hey. Video, yeah. Okay.
Anyways, so it's showing there. I guess that's it right here. I haven't done a live stream before, but I didn't want to show too much, anyways. The important thing is I wanted to, although this is upcoming. Huh?
What date was that for?
Well, that was actually, that's why I scheduled it. That was this one that we just did. That turned out to be this one. Right here. so it says it's, yeah, well, January 20th, 2017. Well, that must be, I should probably just delete that one. Yeah, that one was January 20th, 2017. So it's probably something that just kind of happened by accident.
Mm.
But this one will still be here. So that's why, see, I've never done a live stream before. But there's that one. Okay, well, so let's go ahead and, are you still on, Chris? Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, I think, and start this next one.
Yeah.
We got someone that just came in. So, Chris wants to, and this is, the basic weekend, so I'm open to any, if you have something you want to cover, I'm open to ideas on stuff that you might want to talk about, okay?
Okay.
And he wanted to know about how to assert himself. So this presentation is basically how I developed the procedure, what happened, and that where I got this, where I started doing this. And so what we're going to learn about today is who you are, how to assert your rights, a procedure to build a case against our public servants that'll stand up in court, and they'll know what you're doing, and this is exactly what you want if you think about it, because most of them are just honest, hardworking people, and so you don't need to do anything beyond let them know who you are. And a lot of them, you don't even have to do that. They're going to treat you properly anyways. But you build this procedure for the ones that are either ignorant or intend to be criminals. I've dealt with law and regulation all my life. I've worked for over 35, actually it's 40 years in aviation now, starting in 1976. In the late 80s, someone told me about the two classes of citizens, and I told them they're crazy. And they produced some court cases that talk about it, and I had to look into it. In the mid-90s, I was working in Toronto for Bombardier on a contract. I met Patrick Ellis. Patrick Ellis taught me about court procedure and how to file a lawsuit. And I filed several lawsuits in Ontario. I've been in the Ontario Court of Appeals twice. I've filed numerous lawsuits in the U.S. I've taken them to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 9th Circuit, the 5th Circuit, the 2nd Circuit, and the D.C. Circuit. And I've taken, well, this was 3 cases, but I've actually been 5 times to the Supreme Court now. And I've got actually a case in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 5th Circuit that might wind up in the Supreme Court too. In 2004, it was recommended me to get some of Rice McLeod's material. Rice McLeod was Attorney General for the Republic of Texas. Rice McLeod had a very down-to-earth way of explaining the law. Rice McLeod really helped me see what was going on. In 2006, I moved to Texas and got involved with the Republic of Texas. I was elected to Congress for the Republic of Texas. And the Congress for the Republic of Texas elected me to be Speaker, and I was Speaker of the House of Representatives for the Republic of Texas for a year and a half before I had to leave Texas because of a contract in New York. So I worked in New York for Atlas Airlines in White Plains. I don't know if anybody's ever been up there, but I worked for Atlas Airlines in White Plains. Over the years, years, I learned that we're under martial law. All courts are corporate, commercial courts in business to make a profit. All courts are banks and leverage the filing fees. All judges and prosecutors are getting royalties from every case they hear. There's no real justice in the courts. They'll slap whoever violated your rights, but it will be behind the scenes. The best way to deal with your public servants is administratively. Over the years, I learned that there's few de jure governments operating on the planet except for maybe the Republic of Texas. And I think that we need to set up our own de jure governments and start operating them. And that would make us a protected person under international law. Because it's all international law that you're being hit with. So there's protections even there.
What do you think about Anna von Reitz and the stuff that she's bringing out at the moment? Anna von Reitz.
Oh, well, some of the stuff that she,
I mention it because she's and her, who she's dealing with, are actually trying to arrange the jural assemblies and
right.
to get the de jure constitutional governments within the states functional, because her argument, and probably the argument, is that the de jure governments are not being operated.
Right, I agree. It's all commercial, and so I agree with her there. Some of her stuff, I'm not sure that I would do, like certifying the birth certificate. That all falls under international law, and my problem with that is that it's a fraud, and if you participate in the fraud, you can't claim fraud anymore. And so I would rather claim fraud. So I don't do anything to certify the birth certificate. If people want to do that, I don't discourage them from doing that. I just don't see, my attitude is that I don't see why, because when you certify the birth certificate, if you read that, okay, you get it, you first of all, you get the certificate, right? And then you send it to the state Secretary of State, and they will send back an apostille. Okay, and the apostille, what it does is it certifies the notary, because the certificate is going to have a notary signature on it. And it'll certify the notary on the certificate, that's all. Saying this is a real notary, right? And so then you send it to the U.S. Secretary of State, and they will certify the Secretary of State of the state. And so the federal Secretary of State will say that the state Secretary of State is a real Secretary of State. And in the same breath, in the same paragraph, it will say, but we don't recognize the underlying document. That's the birth certificate they're talking about, okay? Because they know it's a fraud.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to have, it's treason for them to recognize that. See what I'm saying?
Well, recognize it as identifying the body.
Exactly. It's a fraud.
Yeah.
And
well, that's why these people talk about, I'm not sure if it goes on with Anna, because I don't read her stuff all that much, but I'm aware that people do try and copyright the birth certificate or the name on the birth certificate. And as far as I'm concerned, people should stay well clear of that, because the birth certificate doesn't belong to you, it belongs to, them.
That's true.
It's their name, it's their registration.
That's true.
It's not you.
And that's,
so you copyrighting it is attempting to steal somebody else's property.
Well, I've copyrighted the name, but it hasn't done any good. I know there's such a thing as a common law copyright, and so you can copyright the name, but
that
it is their birth certificate, though. It is their birth certificate. That's true. They won't let you have the original.
No.
They'll only let you have, a certain number of copies. And so it is theirs. It falls under. That's why I say it's the Roman cult. It's the Sestake Trust, So that's why my attitude is I'd rather be in the position where I could say it's a fraud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really, the real solution is, in my opinion, is not to register the births in the first place. You know, the problem there is this pedophilia and child kidnapping and stuff like that's one of the things they do is they don't register the births because then there's no record, and they can go ahead and kill them, even kill the babies and the children and drink their blood and do all this stuff that's just an absolute abomination, you know. And anyways, don't get me going. This is one thing that we're going to talk about in the advanced weekend. Oh, here. And if you want to look at this, this is talking about, we talked about it earlier, about internationally protected persons under international law. So you're welcome to look at that. That's one of the things that I think under the current system, that's really powerful. I'm curious to see. I'm going to start bringing it up, and actually I'm going to file some criminal complaints against some bar members and some judges because they're bar members and they're supposed to know, you know. And so I think I can hurt them, and there's nothing that I like better than hurting a bar member. Anyways, almost all laws are color of law. All countries are under martial law. They set up everybody for slavery. Do you want to be a slave? Is there a price for your freedom that you're not prepared to pay? You know, if you think about it. And so the important thing, in my opinion, is what works, and you know that's the important thing. And so that's why people, this stuff here I know works. You know, and the burden's on you to assert your rights. If you do not assert your rights, you lose them. Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law. The burden's on the defendant to show the non-existence of jurisdictional facts. And that's a court case. Because we're under martial law, the courts presume everything. If you go on the attack, you can defeat their presumptions. If this procedure is followed properly, the system will deal with any criminals that are exposed. In other words, like with bar members, especially with the internationally, because if under international law, you're basically immune from their statutes. And I'm a senator with the Republic of Texas, and so there's my official identification. So I would encourage other people, like I know there's a Republic of California. There's people in California that have a Republic of California going, and there's Hawaii too. There's a Kingdom of Hawaii.
That's slightly different.
Kingdom of Hawaii. Yeah. Well, Hawaii was a kingdom, and basically they played some games and took over, you know. Yeah. And so so when you start understanding this stuff, and that's what martial law is, international law. So they're assaulting you with international law, and you know they just openly perjure their oath, and so there's still remedies available even there. You know what I mean? And but it's getting, hopefully, you know, I was watching a YouTube video here earlier. I closed it down. I was watching a YouTube video earlier, and it was this East Indian guy that's a Christian minister, and he was basically here. I don't know how long he's been here for, but he was talking about that basically the gates of hell have been opened up against Trump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything that's going on is so diabolically evil, and so we should be praying for them. Is what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And so. Anyways, because we're under martial law, the courts presume everything. If you go on the attack, you can defeat their presumptions. As a matter of fact, the best way to defeat their presumptions is before they ever see it coming. And put them in the position where, you know, you can go after them. And we'll talk about some of the stuff that I did. Because you're under martial law, if you're already under attack, it becomes very difficult to deal with. It gets more difficult the further along you are in their process. It's much easier if you attack them before they ever see you. Much, much easier. And so, you know, it's warfare. And the best defense is a good offense, if you think about it. And so, they've been good teachers for me because I do to them what they do to me. I grind them through my system. I presume they're guilty and make them prove they're not. I started out by filing commercial liens in 2005. I filed a $15 million commercial lien against the IRS and all the commissioners and deputy commissioners. And IRS Commissioner Mark Everson resigned. They had an acting, was it? Yes, it was an acting commissioner. And I filed a $500 million commercial lien against J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and all of their executive officers. I filed a $500 million commercial lien against Wilshire Credit Corporation and all their executive officers. I filed a $3 billion commercial lien against the law firm in Phoenix and all of their executive officers. I filed a $15 million commercial lien against Capital One Bank and all of their executive officers. I've sent numerous invoices. The U.S. owes me approximately $2 billion. The reason I'm telling you all this is because I believe the commercial liens work and are valid, but you're operating in their system and they're thieves. There's no honor among thieves. If you go into their commercial system, you give up common law rights and remedies, and once you go into their system, you're giving up your common law rights, and you cannot take them back after you give them up. And so once you give them up, they're gone. And so,
Could I ask a question?
what's that?
Why is that? If our rights are unalienable,
Because they consider it a contract.
no, they might, but that's okay.
Well, no.
I'm the sovereign.
If you give them up,
If they're not in perpetuity.
Actually, this was a question I think came under the original writings of the Constitution because there are two words, inalienable and unalienable.
sure.
Inalienable are the ones that are contracted rights you can give up, in essence. Unalienable, they said, were rights that are
Cannot be given up
and cannot be
Under
given
any
up.
circumstances.
That was, and that's my understanding of it. Unalienable means
Normally-
you cannot give them up.
Normally, that's right. But remember, the government's bankrupt. It's now owned by the Roman cult. If it was owned by us, that would be true.
I don't know, because to me, it doesn't trump my unalienable rights.
I
Only
don't,
if you assert them, I think, is
You have
the
to.
issue.
When you
you
assert
have to
them.
understand, there's two national governments. The trust, that's why you don't see anything with the United States of America anywhere, right? Because that one can't commit treason, right? But the corporation that was set up by Congress in 1871, that's just a corporation. And that's owned by the Roman cult now. And it's whatever criminal activity they can justify under Roman law. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's different. Now, it is true that that which is created can never be greater than that which created it, but they have presumptions. They're under martial law, and they can sit there and make presumptions until you defeat their presumptions. And it's extremely difficult if they have you in their jail and you can't even write a piece of paper. You see what I'm saying? And all the rest of it. And so you're right. Eventually, you could win against them, even in the worst case scenario. But then, when you think of all their judges operate under the UN and international law, that's all tied into it's the Roman cult, and they're bought and paid for by the Roman cult, and so that's why Trump is dealing with all of the stuff he's dealing with, because they're nothing but a bunch of thieves and pirates.
Flynn's another one, General Flynn. And the,
Absolutely.
Sullivan judge.
Absolutely. They may, Flynn will probably get justice eventually, but how long? You know what I mean? And meanwhile, they're just having their way with it.
From my perspective, Flynn will not get justice because he's a military officer.
Right.
Under their system. So now the bar attorneys are taking all of his money that he stored up.
Right. Well, and that all goes back to the UN.
I agree. So until he becomes a man, he might be in trouble.
The real solution is to withdraw from the UN.
Yep.
And Trump has already started that. He withdrew from the World Health Organization. And so I think that ultimately that's really what we need to do, is withdraw from the UN completely. And then we'll start seeing, and get rid of the bar members. As a matter of fact, in my book, I've got a chapter on how you'll be able to tell if Trump is successful to restore the republic. Because there's some things that you'll see. They'll be really obvious. One of the things you'll see is there'll be no more Federal Reserve notes. The military script will go away. You'll have to have lawful money. That's one of the things that you'll see, is if he's able to restore the republic. And I think that they'll get rid of the bar. I think that there'll be no more bar members. I think that the judges will have to renounce their bar membership, and I think that they'll start hanging judges too, because they used to hang judges on a regular basis back before 1900. You used to hang judges on a regular basis, and that's what needs to happen. Stretch their necks. You stretch a couple necks, and all of a sudden the rest of them will come right into line. Eh?
Oh yeah.
You won't have none of this stuff going on with Flynn, eh?
Yeah.
Would you say that, how you mentioned martial law, does the topic ever come up, or will the fact that it's so perpetual, like in other words, couldn't sovereigns say, isn't this kind of ridiculous that we're always in martial law? Like, when does it get undeclared? And that right there is like, come on now, doesn't that kind of show the intention is to never have people under constitutional law? Like, isn't that weird though? Like
martial law only is only rescinded when you declare peace.
Well,
and they never did.
Peace.
So how could they never ever declare peace?
But
ever?
there has to be there. First of all, and that's why I say there's got to be some things that are going to happen. They can't get rid of the martial law until they have lawful money. They absolutely have to have, because these Federal Reserve notes are military script, is what they are. They're military script. So you got to get rid of the fake money, and it's got to go back to gold or silver coin. That's number one. And I think that we're going to have to get rid of the bar. That's all in my book. I talk about that. How are you going to be able to tell if Trump is successful about restoring the republic? With as long as you have these things in circulation, there hasn't been. There's a guy that I know. I don't know him. A friend of mine sent me he's in Texas though. A friend of mine sent me a audio where he was on a conference call, and he talks about how He has 3 affidavits that he uses in any court case, and he's got it now to the point that the prosecutor will come up to him and say, look, you ever have any trouble, just contact me, I'll make it go away for you. And what he does is he brings up the fact that there's no lawful money in circulation. And so he cannot, he's under the Uniform Commercial Code. They presume a certain things, and if he defeats their presumption and puts the judge in a position of, you see what I'm saying? He exposes the fact that there's no judge, that he's a bought and paid for clerk, and he does it through the money, okay? Because there's been no lawful money in circulation since 1964. And
what species of money would you like that fine paying in?
Well, and that's the same thing that Kerry does with the Form 1020, okay? But with the judge, he basically, matter of fact, I can let me, I went and put the document into a Word file. So I'm gonna share this with Chris, because
You won't see it
otherwise he wouldn't see it. That's right. Anyways, so I put it into a Word file, and so this is basically, he read the document, and so I had to basically play the recording really slow and transcribe it. So, but what he said is, under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 states that no state will make anything but gold or silver coin and tender in a payment of a debt. All bar members take an oath to support and defend the Constitution. I do not have any contracts with the state or federal government or any bar member or officer of this court, and I don't waive any rights specifically related to Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1. The declaration made by the U.S. Congress at 31 U.S.C. 5101 clearly states that no court has decided the value of money, and rightly so. And this is taken from 5101, this bold. The value of money is a political question and cannot be addressed by the court. All questions concerning the nature of money are political questions and cannot be addressed by any court. There are 3 things involved in any demand for money. First is the value of money. Congress declares that there's been no decisions on the value of money or money of account. And that's in 31 U.S.C. 5101. The Constitution of the United States at Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 states that no state shall make anything but gold or silver coin and tender in the payment of debts. This article of the Constitution operates to restrict the court from ordering any payment made under any other form than gold or silver coin.
Nice.
Third, the absence of gold or silver in general circulation operates, and you could use this in your case too. Third, the absence of gold or silver in general circulation operates in a manner that creates a political question as to whether I can be compelled to accept legal prejudice by using or accepting any form of money other than gold or silver coin. And court cases that talk about that are these 2 right here. The second argument in this case that stops this court from even ruling in this matter is a problem that has been generated by a conflict between the statutes created by the Congress of the United States and the Constitution of the United States. This conflict is reflected in the policy of the state of Texas and how the said conflict operates against my political position as a beneficiary of the Paramount Trust. Okay, the Paramount Trust is the United States of America, created by the Constitution of the United States. Here are the players at this party. First, there is me, who's a beneficiary of the Paramount Trust created by the Constitution for the United States, who has never knowingly and with intent waived any of the rights or protection of my beneficial position. Then there is the judge in this matter, whether he or she is the trustee of the paramount trust due to oath taken to support and defend the paramount trust. Then there's a prosecutor who has an oath to protect and defend the paramount trust and is also an officer of the court. Then there's an employer or agent of the city who as a peace officer has also taken an oath to protect and defend the paramount trust and is a co-trustee. I'm telling you, see how he's building this thing? These conditions operate to place the judge in this matter, the prosecutor for the city, and the city employee in the unique position of making sure that I'm granted all of my protections under the paramount trust. Otherwise, the trustee or a co-trustee commits perjury of oath, which is a very serious crime in Texas. The ability of the city to collect for a violation in this matter turns on political choices and rights available to me and generated in the paramount trust, cited at Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1. The Congress of the United States has created certain statutes which conflict with the paramount trust, and those statutes are made without authority. This statutes operate to remove gold, silver coin from circulation and use any beneficiaries of the paramount trust. The removal of gold or silver coin can cause citizens to have to make the political choice to either waive their protection under the paramount trust and use an authorized form of payment for day-to-day debts to the government, or have no money of exchange to provide for their life. The money system moved forward by way of ignorance of the citizens, even though the only form of payment authorized by the paramount trust still to this day is gold or silver coin. This set of circumstances operates to create a political choice for me when dealing with any political subdivision of the state, including the city. I would be forced to waive my rights and protections created by the paramount trust for my benefit and agree to deal with government in an unauthorized and therefore illegal form of exchange, or I could come to this court and demand that the trustees and co-trustees sworn to defend my rights and protections set out on the conditions of the paramount trust do their sworn duty. Thereby, trustees who have sworn oaths could avoid the peril of becoming conflicted trustees and committing perjury of oath. All courts are aware that all aspects of money are political. Congress has exclusive control over the value of creation of money. However, the form of money is controlled by the conditions set forth in the paramount trust. Therefore, issued such as these raised by me are non-justiciable political subject and outside the jurisdiction of this or any other court. At this juncture in this matter, the court has the opportunity to either operate the court for my benefit as a beneficiary of the paramount trust, or commit perjury of oath and operate the court pursuant to some other rules created by a secondary spin-off trust that was generated by some United States Banking Emergency and Bankruptcy Act in 1930s that continues to this day. Since the court was stopped by Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, I need to put that in there. Of the Constitution from generating any order that would order me to pay anything in Federal Reserve notes or banknotes, there is no set of facts that the government can present that would allow the city to receive the relief they are seeking. Therefore, I'm entitled to have this matter dismissed in summary judgment. There is another set of legal circumstances that are quite compelling and presented with the liabilities that run against the state when the system is run contrary to the conditions set out in the Paramount Trust. Currently, the state of Texas is operating its day-to-day operations, including the court system, outside the requirements of Article 10, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution of the United States. Since the United States Congress has removed gold in 1933 and silver from circulation on January 5, 1965, and the Constitution of the United States has not changed with reference to Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, a conflict of law has been continually in place. For the court to continue to operate with some appearance to provide justice, the judges has to be provided with some shield from operating totally outside the supreme law of the land. Since January 1965, there's been technically no lawful money in general circulation. The courts, in order to give the appearance of providing justice, has to move to a strictly commercial venue, which is international law. The commercial venue was provided by the Uniform Commercial Code. The Uniform Commercial Code, by way of the definition of money provided in the Business and Commerce Code, okay, that's Texas Business and Commerce Code, which is the Texas version of the Uniform Commercial Code, provides that money with the court with a form of shield by utilizing a presumption. And this money means a medium of exchange. This is Texas Business and Commerce Code, which is the Texas version of the Uniform Commercial Code. The UCC provides for the purpose of the UCC is to permit the continued expansion of commercial practices through customs usages and agreement of the parties. Here's where the rub begins. The court depends on me to stay silent about this set of circumstances and let the court make the presumption that I accept the position of party as defined in the business code, and that I agree to accept the definition of money and move forward with this transaction. See, you can use this in your case. For
How
sure.
so?
Huh?
How so?
Because they're wanting money. You
And
tell
not
them,
exist.
you can't ask for money. You can't ask for money. You can't. There's no money in general circulation.
Oh, you mean the fine
Yeah,
that they were asking?
yeah, yeah.
Is it after, can I retroactively use that in some fashion?
You could, I would just do a motion to dismiss for,
No, I don't, yeah, okay. I don't think, the reason, well, we could talk about it later.
yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Thanks.
Actually, the other thing that I was aware of on that one, I'm not sure if you knew of this or even brought it up, but somebody who was issued a fine in dollars came in with, I'm not sure if it was Zimbabwean or something, other dollars, that was like 1,000 of their dollars to $1 US, and the fine was, $500 US, and he gave it all to them in Zimbabwean dollars, which amounted to something like $5 US.
Right.
So he paid them the
Kerry
fine.
Zolman's done stuff like that.
Yeah, and well, he said you wanted dollars. He didn't specify what currency.
That's right.
You just said dollars. Here's dollars.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, the court depends on me to stay silent about this set of circumstances and let the court make the presumption that I accept the position as party as defined by the business code, and I agree to accept the definition of money and move forward with this transaction. Since I have not entered into this transaction or made any agreements with the state, the city, or the police, or the court, this corporate city court, the cop, or the judge in this matter, and will provide an affidavit to that effect, under those circumstances, the court will not be able to utilize presumption of party or money against me. My affidavit will shift the burden to the prosecutor to bring forth some non-existent contract that indicate that I did with intent waive my protections under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, to pay debts to the state with gold or silver coin. At that juncture of the matter, the court will no longer be able to utilize presumption with this matter, that this matter will go forward with me as a party and as defined in the UCC under the definition of money as also defined in the UCC. Once the presumptions of the court are controverted and I claim my rights under the Constitution of the United States, the court is bound by the supreme law of the land. The same Constitution of the United States which the court took an oath to support and defend. This set of circumstances operates to place the court and all officers of this matter who have taken an oath to support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States in a conflict with any of their other perceived oaths and duties. The oath to the Constitution of the United States is a paramount oath, and perjury to that oath can carry severe penalties. Under the foregoing set of circumstances, there is no set of facts that the state of Texas, county, and city can bring forward that allow the court to grant the relief that the state of Texas, county, and city is requesting. Therefore, I require that the court comply with its oath to the Constitution of the United States and dismiss the complaint. And every time, well, what happens now is the prosecutors contact them and say, look, you ever have any more problems, just contact me and I'll make it go away.
Does that man represent himself as a foreign sovereign?
No, doesn't even bring up that issue. These are the issues of just about money. Just brings up the issue about money.
Which is basically a draw. He just is going after a draw,
Not really.
not a win.
No. Well, all you need is one issue to get the thing dropped.
Right, but that's always leaving them in a position to continue to assault.
Not really, because they can't ask for anything but Federal Reserve notes, because there's no money in general circulation. They can't ask for something that's not, and he talks about it, I talked about that in there. They can't ask for something that's not in circulation.
And the notes are actually debt notes.
They are.
It's like, it's creating more.
That's right. So it basically hits the same stuff as Kerry. It's the same. Kerry's got a 2-page thing that basically does the same thing. Tell me what to pay. You see what I'm saying? But he goes through the same thing and explains why, and says that you've got an oath of office, and for you to ask me to pay anything but gold or silver coin, that is perjury of your oath. And at the same time, you can't ask for gold or silver coin because there's none in general circulation.
What would they possibly ask for? Like, say, if someone said that, what would they do? Like, they'll come up with some craziness, or they can't. But what like they'll say, well, you still owe this. You still owe this.
No. Well, their oath of office. Okay, it comes down to perjury of oath. Now, he's pointing out, because he's 100% right, is that it's the Uniform Commercial Code.
So you could show them the law that said that there's no money. Basically, like you could say, like, since so and so, this time there has not been any gold.
Well, that's what he says.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, Joint House Resolution 192 of 1930
Right.
was the original, where they took all gold at that point. I think. I'm not sure about silver. I think silver was still in circulation. And I think he said there actually that it was in 1965 that they took it out of general circulation, and then 1971 when Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standard completely. So there was no backing of money by gold. It was literally evidence of debt, Federal Reserve notes at that point.
See, and here's this 32 and on is basically one of the affidavits that he uses. So it depends on the situation. Will depend on which one he uses. There's like 3 of them in here and I just basically compiled them into one. But so 32 and on, so there's another set of legal circumstances that are quite compelling to present with the liabilities that run against the state when the system is run contrary to the conditions set out in the Paramount Trust. Currently, the state of Texas is operating its day-to-day operations, including outside the requirements of Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution. Since the U.S. Congress has removed gold in 1933 and silver since January 1st, 1965, and the Constitution has not changed with reference to Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, a conflict of law has been continually in place. There's no money in general circulation. For the court to continue to operate with some appearance to provide justice, the judges has to be provided with a shield. So that's where the Uniform Commercial Code comes in, and he talks about it. With the shield from operating totally outside the supreme law of the land. Since January 1965, there's been no lawful money in general circulation. The courts, in order to give the appearance of providing justice, has moved to a strictly commercial venue. That's where the uniform, they're all commercial. Under international law, the commercial venues provided by the Uniform Commercial Code, and the money is defined in the Uniform Commercial Code as just a medium of exchange. It's not gold or silver, it's just a medium of exchange, anything. The UCC provides that the purpose of the UCC is to permit the continued and expansion of commercial practices through custom usages and agreement of the parties, okay? So the court depends on me to stay silent about this set of circumstances and let the court make the presumption that I accept the position of party as defined by the Uniform Commercial Code, okay? That's the position of party, right? So it's commercial. and that I agreed to accept the definition of money and move forward with this transaction, okay? And so then he's just saying that he'll make an affidavit saying that he doesn't accept it. Since I've not entered into this transaction or made any agreements with the state, the city, or the police, or the court, this corporate city court, the cop, or the judge in this matter, and will provide an affidavit to that effect. Under those circumstances, the court will not be able to utilize the presumption of party or money against me. See, they've used the presumption of party and money against you is what they've done. My affidavit will shift the burden to the prosecutor to bring forth some non-existent contract that indicated that I did, with intent, waive my protections under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, to pay debts to the state with gold or silver coin. At that juncture of the matter, the court, see, they cannot ask for gold or silver coin because it's not in general circulation. So they have to ask. That's why the judge will get up there, like with Kerry. The judge will say, he'll ask the judge in court, what do you want me to pay? And the judge will kind of, well, what do you use to, and Kerry will say, well, will you take what they take at Albertsons? And the judge will say, yeah, we'll take that. And so then Kerry will go down and get a bunch of coupons. And he'll bring them back and he'll say, and if you take them in on Wednesday, you can get 4 times. Anyways, were you going to say something?
No, my question is, how do we demand payment in lawful money if they can't pay in lawful money?
Well, you can't.
Now, how can they pay me?
You point that out. All you have to do is point it out, and they have to make the thing go away because it's perjury of oath for them not to.
Yeah, the issue now is that if Nelson is going after them because they've harmed him,
Oh yeah,
then
right.
how are they going to compensate him
Right.
In lawful money.
in lawful money?
They can't. You can't. I'll tell you right now.
So
the courts.
I'll just agree with the way you approach it, which is as a less desirable alternative.
Yeah, you could do that.
I can accept military script.
Right. Yeah. That would be the way I would approach it. Now,
But they can they
when
ask
you
if-
point out the fraud, though, they may not. They may just drop the case. They may. I'm telling you, they always drop my cases. And
Yeah, well, they have dropped it in relation to the fact that when they put me in cuffs, they were still claiming I owed this money, this
Right.
$408.
right.
And after I left the cell, a day later, they haven't mentioned it again.
Well, they probably still want. Send them the Form 1020. Is what I would do. How do you want me to pay?
No, the fact that they're still trying to collect a fine that was unconstitutional to begin with.
Oh, I agree. I'm not disputing that.
So,
But it's all, the whole proceeding is a fraud. It's commercial.
right.
They're assaulting you with international law. They're perjuring their oath all over the place. But they can do that because of their presumptions.
Now, in your view, a U.S. citizen is under what authority as far as the current Constitution is a commercial contract? It's a commercial instrument.
Well, it's the current Constitution's, the original Constitution's still in place. But
Maybe that's not the one they're referring to, that they're always
well,
assertive.
yeah, but they all have an Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, which, and so there may be some slight differences in the wording, but you can still claim, this Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1, gold or silver coin.
Isn't the current Constitution a corporate charter under the 1871? So when they say Constitution of the United States, it's not the same thing we're saying as the Constitution
Well,
of the United States.
there could be some differences. I don't know, but you can still claim this, and to talk about those differences, that gets really, really technical, and you got to show why the the differences, why your argument, I mean, that's gonna be really, really technical. This is a lot simpler.
No, I agree. Getting rid of is helpful. Getting rid of their claim is helpful, and this helps. This is one way to do it,
Right,
and that's a great thing to know.
right.
Okay.
Any kind of deal, I mean, any time, because they're always looking for money. And all their courts are commercial.
Right.
And so this argument would work for any
it's
court.
a shakedown, and what I noticed in my life is anytime I got credits, essentially, they found a way to take them.
Oh, no doubt.
They make a habit of it.
Yeah.
So it's like they give you pretend money, and then they want to take away the pretend money and ask you for more pretend money. Like it's almost like just to stress you out. I mean, that's what it's like. What are you getting from this energy? That's
Right.
what they get ultimately.
Right.
It's
Right.
energy.
And they
They're-
use
they're
It's your
just-
production.
Yeah, yeah.
There's thieves and
You're
pirates.
slaves, basically.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
just-
the tax system's all about. It's what the self-reporting is all about for the tax system, because they know how much you're earning,
Mm-hmm.
they know how much money is in circulation, they know how much you're paying to, who, and they say, okay, well, because of all this, this is how much you can pay. And it's just enough.
Yeah.
They rake it from you,
Yeah.
and you have to keep working more
Right,
to be able to keep paying them and to be able to live.
right.
Rather than just say, screw you guys, I'm just going to work to live. And I'm not paying you anything else. And it's how you do that. That's what a lot of people want to know, how you can do that, which is part of the sovereignty issue, because if you're not attached to them under their contracts, then you have no obligation to pay them anything. Although with Federal Reserve notes, you also have to understand that you're not getting paid.
Right.
So
Right.
again, you have to accept that, you have
Right.
to say that, and show them that, yeah, I've been working, but you haven't paid me yet. I
Right.
haven't been paid.
See, and with your situation, I mean, you're getting ready to file a claim. I wouldn't say anything. I mean, they cannot pay you in gold or silver coin. I wouldn't even bring that issue up. I just tell them, I want, $1 million or $10 million, and spell out dollars. Don't put the symbol there. Spell out dollars.
Right.
Let them think it is whatever they want to think it is.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what I would do, because you start telling them you want gold or silver coin, I'm telling you they'll drop that. They'll find some excuse to drop it. And you don't want you want to get some compensation out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so even their fake money, you can buy gold or silver with it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
At the moment, yeah.
At the moment, yeah, right. And so I wouldn't even bring that issue up, because they definitely cannot give you gold or silver coin, and if you bring that issue up, and that's why they always dismiss my cases, because I always bring that stuff up.
Yeah.
And this whole idea of accept for value, I guess that's just not, I see so many people just say, oh, that doesn't work. But then why shouldn't it? Like, it's.
It does work, actually.
Yeah, it does work. Unfortunately, it's been, excuse the French on the tape, but it's been bastardized a lot. And people end up getting arrested and go to jail because they've.
You have to have the right status of some sort. Like I thought you couldn't do it if you weren't like a secured party, a secured creditor.
Yeah,
Like,
the secured party credit, that gives me
See,
the
those
shivers
are all-
every time people talks about that, because all those people are in jail now, because you're talking about accessing a trust that's been created using Federal Reserve military script. It's not yours. You're talking
Right.
about accessing something, demanding access to something that's not yours.
see, from what I understand,
There is an account.
yes, but it's only for debts.
It's with the Treasury, and it's only to set off debts. It's
That's
only
like
for
you try to
certain
cash.
things.
It's the ones who try to cash out on it, like.
But you hear about these people that like do the 1099 OIDs and that kind of stuff. Kerry's actually talking about doing some of that, but you have to be careful, and
but only like
because that account does exist.
right, but you
And-
can't get.
But
it
you
can't go in
can't
your
just-
hands. It has to
no.
go to the creditor.
That's
or,
right,
Or,
or whatever. That's right.
right.
I know that what I did one time is I went and set it up as an automatic payment for a credit card, and it's the Social Security number, and then there was a YouTube video that talked about how you put in the transit number, right? And it actually worked, and it came back and said that you're not authorized to take money out of this account. So the account was there, and I
Wow.
just wasn't auzed to take money out of it. That's all.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that was the only thing that I ever did.
You never directly talked to the Secretary of the Treasury to
No.
pay on your behalf. To,
Could have,
to
and maybe that
discharge
was
on your behalf, which is what Anna claims to do.
Carrie says that that's right. You have to send them. He says what you have to do is you got to send them because he said that he actually got a Treasury check, and they went and deposited it, and the bank said it was a fraud, and so then what he did is he went to the Treasury Department and got the check number, and he could look it up and say that the check had been cashed, and so then he went to the bank and showed them this print off from the Treasury's website, and he said that check was not a fraud, and where's my money? And now they were like squirming. He was wanting 4 times because that's normal for a conversion is 4 times, and they were like really squirming then. You know what I mean? So yeah, the money's there. He said that what he wants to do is and he's working on it. So he wants to send the Treasury Department the wiring instructions. So then they wire it and they can't say it's fraud. You see what I'm saying? And because what they do, anytime it's over a certain amount, they call up the IRS, and the IRS says it's a fraud, send it to us. And so then the IRS gets it, and so that's what happened is the bank sent it to the IRS, and the IRS took the money.
Like they impounded it. quote
Yeah, or
unquote.
whatever. That's right.
That's funny.
And so what he said was, so the bank was still responsible, and so he went and held them. So he's fighting with them, and so I think he'll get his money. But the real solution is to send them wiring instructions, and then they'll just wire it to you.
That's a good move.
Yeah.
I think what the Bills of Exchange Act, which is mostly a Canadian and UK thing, I don't think they have.
They don't have that here.
They don't have it in the US, no, but there's probably something similar to it. But it's in essence it's the same thing. It's a consumer purchase.
Right.
So if you get a bill from a utility company, for instance, what you would do is you would sign it.
Accept.
Well, this is the accepted for value thing. You would sign it in a specific way, give social security numbers, the account number,
Yes.
and then return it back to them, and they then receive funds for your utility
Out of that
from
account.
that treasury account.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's no money,
Right.
so they have to offer some way for you to pay,
Right.
and that's the way that you were supposed to pay. By consumer purchase, it's for your private use, and it's a utility, it's required for life, and that's how you would offset that payment by using the account that was provided by, the government, let's just say at this point, and that's how all your bills are supposed to be paid.
Right.
But what you end up doing is you get a statement of account, you never bother offsetting it and discharging it through that special account, and you end up using the Federal Reserve notes, which are just for general, exchange between you and somebody else that's already also in the system. It's not meant for the payment of these bills, but that's what's happened, and you get less and they get lots.
That's what's sad that make you feel like you're losing, and neither one of us are really winning because it's not real money, but you still want me to feel like I'm still having the fake money.
Well, it's all satanic. You know, it's all satanic is what it is. I mean, that is Lucifer's money is what it is. Real money is, this is God's money.
Right. And that's,
But again, you see, I've had discussions about, you know, what you can define as what money is. Because,
Well, they just change it because it's modern money mechanics, and they got definitions of monies all over the place. But this is real money, and the rest of it's fake money.
yeah, according to the Constitution, but
Right.
again, what gives it value? The same
This?
as, yeah, well, I mean, what gives it that value? This is the question that most people ask when they try and define money. And when they talk about value of money,
Right.
what gives it the value?
Right.
And the value is life, your production.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
That is
your
what
energy.
your energy is
Yes.
what gives it
So
value.
it's sucking our energy. That's what
On its own.
Yeah.
It has no intrinsic value as far as I'm concerned.
It's like they're doing with the
Right.
kids.
Same as the Federal Reserve note, same
Well,
as anything else.
It's like they're doing with the
Silver
child trafficking.
It's like rocks,
It's a
basically.
different way.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So
it's just, whatever you want to use, whatever you want to say, it's still whatever is accepted as money
Right.
by the parties. That's what it is.
Right.
So right now, it's the only reason with the Federal Reserve notes are used is because everybody accepts that they have value
and you
and
know,
that they can change and exchange them.
and the funny thing, the sad, in my sort of like, I don't know, being a little more aware, I realized the name of the game is you, like say we just said like they suck using your energy, but then they can say, no, we didn't do it, you let us do it. It's like you're doing it. So it's like there's no accountability because they have it so where it's like, oh yeah, I might have tricked you, but because you didn't know it, it's your fault.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
something that Glenn brought up earlier. Let he who would be deceived be deceived.
Yeah, that's a Roman maxim.
It's a maxim, yeah. So, and that's why these things are so important. You know, these
Right.
lessons, these
Right.
information shares, because it's about bringing the information out to the people so that they shouldn't be deceived, because
And then
they
it's
know at that
yeah.
point.
And-
The issue that we have to deal with now is how do we turn that about? Okay, we know,
Right,
but
how
do
you
we
put it into
fix
practice.
How do we sort it out? And that's a prime example of what Chris is asking there. How do we regain our sovereignty? How do we regain our power back? How do we stand firm against these crooks? That's what most people are asking.
Right.
The issue is, even if you have that knowledge, then you have a complete system in place that has been, there's a training, there's an indoctrination in place that makes you the idiot because you're questioning it and fighting against something
Right.
that everybody knows is how it all works, because that's how it's always been done. Well, that's not how it's always been done, and we never ask the question. We just accept that this is the way it is.
Yeah. And they,
So
and
I
they
mean,
glad-
every time you have to ask questions. You don't make demands, don't make statements, and certainly don't make statements you can't back up. But sovereignty is not one simple thing, and I think a lot of people, Chris might disagree, but it's not one single thing that you can do that will give you your life and give you your power back.
right.
It's a whole host of things. It's a whole
Right.
sequence of events and
It's-
living.
It's a way of life.
It's a way of life. So it means that you have to be aware of information from the complete left to the complete right to be able to establish your lifestyle in the future. Not just say, well, I'm going to concentrate on money, and if I can, say, well, I can't pay your FRNs, I want to pay in silver or gold, but they won't accept it. Well, there's no payment then. It's not as simple as that, and that's only a small portion.
That's why Kerry's Form 1020 is so genius, because it cuts it basically says that, but it's 2 pages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this 1020 will go to the Treasury Department? No, to the
Go to anybody that wants money, wants payment.
Oh,
Go
right.
to anybody that wants payment.
Okay. I'm sorry, which Kerry are you
Kerry Zolman, he's a friend of mine in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does that conference call. There's a jurisdiction conference call they do every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And he's the guy that's on there. And so it's pretty brilliant. Anyways,
But you said earlier, somebody said something about a citizen, and my first thought was that is what makes us under their jurisdiction, is being a citizen. I thought I could be, and I thought the idea is you don't really want to be a citizen. You want to be sovereign. You know, like
you don't. Well, sovereign is kind of a, you know, they like to smear you with that, and so, but state citizen.
State
you
citizen.
can be a state citizen without being a U.S. citizen.
Oh.
But I also like
States.
the protected person under international law too, because they're in clearly an international law. It's all martial law, and so that
Right,
that
but
actually.
for the typical person, the problem is you have gone further down the road and related to a republic. Therefore, you have a de jure type government. You're
With the Republic of
part
Texas,
of,
you mean?
right? Whereas my position is,
Right.
when I read that U.S. 18 U.S.C. 11 and 112,
Uh-huh.
it refers to a head of government.
Right.
And who's the head of my government?
We the people are.
No, me. Who's I'm self-governing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
The head of state.
Like you have to have
I'm
a
the head.
nationality.
I'm the head of state of me. So therefore, I'm federally. I'm an internationally protected person.
Well, and so, but it would be better to have some organization, you know, like a drill assembly or something like that.
I don't agree. Because, well, you're saying that basically returning to the de jure state.
Right.
But until such time as I have one, then I've got to claim the basic foundation.
Well, and those definitions, you could. It says the. Body of insurgents, faction, or body of insurgents. So I mean, it's not doesn't talk about one person, but it could be
Well, when it refers to
one
the
group of people.
The definition of an internationally protected person.
Right.
That's where you have to go,
Yeah. Well, it's actually.
so that I can show them in their definition why I'm an internationally protected person.
If you go to 116, that's actually going to be in my. I got a video I'm going to do next weekend.
116A or something, or
Right.
1116A.
1116B,
B.
and
yeah.
and that's in my next video.
Okay.
And so I'll be talking about that. I'll have that.
So
there.
I want to recommend that when you get to that point, is anytime a man like you is talking, or anyone, there's various statuses of the people we're talking to try to assist them.
Right.
So when you look at it, you're saying, well, because I'm part of the Republic of Texas, this is how I am.
Right. But I also say when I go through the video, I'm planning on saying
Okay.
that any group, and so you could form a drill assembly. You see what I'm saying?
I hear you, but
And
that
there's-
doesn't help me on the side of the road. My point is
Well-
next time you read that,
Yeah.
also refer to a man he's a man, he's a foreign sovereign,
Right.
but he hasn't joined a jural assembly.
Right.
So how would he
Like a free man of the land? Is
use that?
You have to be careful about how you do it.
No, I
Okay,
know,
because again, they're going to label you as some
Well, I've
You know,
already labeled
militia.
myself.
Terrorist.
militia or something like that.
Enemy of.
I got to use the restroom. I'll
Oh,
be right
okay.
back.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you.
I thought American National was one. Like I thought I heard people say being an American, you file call yourself an American National or something like that.
Well, yeah, American National I think still works, although
It's
you've
not
got
as clean as it can be.
no, because it's the country of America. I mean, it's the whole landmass known as America. Whereas here it would be New Jersey State, or Republic actually. It should really be mentioned as Republic, not state.
Well, it's a republic. Why does it have to be a republic? Because it never was a republic. It was never named a republic.
The original states were created as republics under the Constitution.
Where does it say?
It said we have a republic, a constitutional republic.
Yes, but that was not referring to each state. That was referring to the Republican form of each state sending representatives to this.
Yeah, but I think I'm not sure if it's mentioned in either the Federalist Papers or somewhere within the text of the Constitution that each of the original states, I think, were created as republics.
I don't think so.
Well, I know.
It does say Republican form of government.
Yes.
It does not say every state is a republic.
Yeah, I couldn't even point you exactly where it is.
Because I've been looking for it. Because in order to, but like Republic of Texas, that was the way they were created.
Yeah.
The colonies came through a different gate. The colonies came from being a colony to declaring themselves.
Yeah, well,
A
many
state.
of them were created as commonwealths, like the Commonwealth of Virginia, Commonwealth of Philadelphia. They were original.
So that's what makes each one a separate entity, like sort of every.
See, I'm not sure what the difference is between a Commonwealth, because they have the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and then some of them are just states.
I did research it, and I don't understand it fully, but there is a way to dig into that.
Yeah.
But my concern, the discussion he and I were just having is Republic of New Jersey. It's never been the Republic of New Jersey. It's been New Jersey.
I think that was one of the 13 colonies. Well, yeah.
It was one
King
of the
James.
original 13, but
Yeah.
so
And so New Jersey State, I agree with.
right.
As far as the de jure, and then the Republican form of government, I agree with.
Right.
But to say that a General Assembly is the Republic of New Jersey, it's never existed before.
Right.
If we want
There
to
was a colony of New Jersey, and then it became the state of New Jersey. It's like New York.
Exactly.
I was at this courthouse, and there was this monument in front of this courthouse. It was an old building that was not occupied anymore. It was there as a kind of a museum. There was this monument in front, and it said right on this monument, it said, in this building, the colony of New York became the state of New York. And I thought, wow. You know?
Actually, one of the reasons why I think there's some form of proof, and I'm not sure whether it's specific to this particular state or all states, but when I created my virtual mailbox, I created it under the address of Republic of Tennessee, is where my mailbox address is, virtual mailbox. And I actually mailed myself a registered envelope to that address. And I'm telling Glenn about it yesterday, because I felt that there was some validity to it, for the simple reason that it didn't go directly through the normal federal United States Postal Service. It went to the International Mail Sorting Office in New York. For international mail.
Because
Because the Republic is not part of the United had to go out as if it was going external to the United
Right, it
States.
was without the United States.
Exactly. So, and I've sent a couple of different things using that Republic addressing, and it's always gone through that hub.
Because it's marked?
Well, I mark it as the Republic in this
No, but
particular
how do you
case.
know it went through the international?
Oh, because it was registered, it was tracked. And even
I
if I've
see.
done certified,
see.
it's tracked.
I see, so you could track it where it went to that facility.
Yes.
Do you think it went there because of the words Republic?
Yes, I believe it did.
Okay.
As an international
See, and I think that
destination.
I think every state has a republic. I mean, we're guaranteed a republican form of government, so the republic is here. Matter of fact, I've even heard of them called, like for example, in Arizona, there's an Arizona National Bank, right? And I think that bank is owned by the state, and that's the way they make money. One of the ways they make money is by owning this Arizona. South Dakota actually does the same thing, and they actually don't have any state income tax because the bank makes them so much money. And so a lot of states are doing it. There's a National Bank of Texas too. And so each state is actually a nation. And so to call it a republic is not, even though there's no official entity called the Republic of New Jersey, to call it a republic is not inappropriate. You see what I'm saying?
I agree. But all I'm saying is I think it's related to the colony situation that New Jersey was never
Right.
the Republic of New Jersey.
There was never a Republic of Tennessee either. But there was a Republic of Texas.
Yeah.
Why though?
Well, that's because Texas revolted from Mexico.
It was a
right?
sovereign nation.
That's, remember the Alamo. And,
Oh,
and so there was a war, and Texas revolted against Mexico, and they got Santa Anna to
So you,
sign
so you have to have a revolt first to become a republic.
Well,
Just kidding.
Texas was a sovereign nation from 1836 to 1845, when in 1845 it was supposed to have joined the Union, but there's problems with that because the in order for any sovereign nation to become part of another sovereign nation, they have to do a treaty of annexation. And Texas did a treaty of annexation and sent it to the U.S. Senate for approval and adoption, and they didn't. They shelved it. They did a House Joint Resolution is what they did. And so, but in the preamble, in I think it's 9 Stat 1, which is where the act to extend the laws of the United States over the state of Texas, it says in the preamble to that act, it says that Texas has joined the Confederacy and the Union. Now, under the Articles of Confederation, and that's why Texas, like I work in aviation, and I can tell you the FAA is completely different in Texas than they are any other state. And even Hillary Clinton, there was on the website when she was Secretary of State, there was a thing saying she was going to go to foreign countries on an international tour, and she was going to go and visit a bunch of foreign countries, and Texas was listed as one of them. And so what my point is that I think Texas joined the Confederacy under the Articles of Confederation, because under the Articles of Confederation all they needed was a certain number of states to approve it. I think it's a third or 2/3, I can't remember. Under the Articles, it was a different formula, and
3/4, I think. 9 of 13 was the magic number.
yeah, something like that.
So it was 3/4.
But so that's why a House Joint Resolution could have qualified to join the Confederacy. You see what I'm saying? But the Confederacy was a permanent, and that's what Lincoln said in the Civil War, is that
Perpetual Union.
perpetual union.
I think he's right.
The Confederacy was a perpetual union. It says right in the Articles of Confederation that this is a perpetual union.
Right. So,
And so you can't separate once you're in.
Oh my God! It sounds like something from a secret society. we have to kill you if you separate.
Well, I mean, they had a choice not to join.
That's true. But, so, anyways, that's what Lincoln said, the Union couldn't be broken up. And,
I agree with that, but and then he used the same right of federal troops as Washington did for the Whiskey Rebellion.
and I don't remember the particulars about the Whiskey Rebellion, but I remember that there was one.
It's early on, and it had to do with the Judiciary Act and the fact that the federal government, Washington, used federal powers because the farmers were converting their state-grown corn into whiskey, which was under the laws of Congress. So that's why he used the powers. He felt he had the right to use the powers to basically, I don't know if he impounded it or collected, somehow he collected the revenue. And the farmers were saying, you don't have a right to do what you're doing. The problem was that when they turned it into whiskey, that gave the federal government the ability, in my view, to use the force. And that was in 1790s.
Yeah,
Pretty quick after.
that's interesting that whiskey, alcohol was regulated by the federal government that far back.
Well, because they understood how to get, what do you call it? Not contract, but jurisdiction. That's it. They had jurisdiction over the whiskey. They didn't have jurisdiction over the corn.
Because you know, it's interesting that George Washington was supposed to have been a hemp farmer, so they didn't regulate marijuana or any of that stuff, but they were regulating alcohol. That's interesting.
And somewhere the vice president, he was president over vice. No, that was true.
President over vice.
Yes, which is why, in my view, why Biden is not in trouble for what he was doing, because he, as the vice president, he's the president over vice.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know over bad things.
Right. Pure of alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Right.
Okay.
Interesting.
I heard you mention Trump earlier. And I just want to ask, is it really possible for the corporation to elect someone who is going to, like, my feeling is that they're both the two wings of the same bird, but I know a lot of people, you know, say that Trump can, but why would he though? Like if he's working for, so he's like a double agent, so like, that's what I thought, well, maybe he's like a double agent, like so he has to really confuse things up and, you know, make you think that he's on that side and then you think he's that side.
I don't know. I think my attitude is that I think God wants him in there, basically. I think
But couldn't they say that about all the presidents, technically?
No.
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 Okay.
No, I don't. I think that, you ever heard of Lindsey Williams?
No. I think I did, but maybe.
Lindsey Williams is a Southern Baptist preacher that went to the Alaska oil pipeline in the 70s when they were building it, and he got to know the elite. And then for the last 30 or 40 years, he's been making videos every once or twice a year, saying that this is what the elite are planning on doing, and then all of that stuff would happen because he got to know them and they were telling him what they were going to do.
Okay.
Anyways, he said that the elite told him that when Trump got elected, that God had intervened and their plans are on hold until Trump's out of office. And there's other people that are saying similar things.
Yeah, a lot.
That Trump is basically put there by God, and if you look at him, they hate his guts. I mean, there's just, it's like the gates of hell are coming against him. And so, if there was someone that was appointed by God, then it would certainly be the gates of hell be against him. You see what I'm saying? And then when everything just rolls off him like water off a duck's back, you know what I mean? And that would be consistent with someone that God had put into power too. You see what I'm saying? This is that nothing can touch them, you know, and they just they're just it's all this. My book, I talk about who the deep state is and where they came from and how they got there, and it's all, they're all Satanists, and I think that I read Trump's book in the '90s, and called The Art of the Deal. And he's like playing three-dimensional chess, and they're playing checkers. And I think that when he puts it like on, goes on the Twitter, and he throws a tweet out there, he's fishing, and they take the bait every time, and then he reels them in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And he's 3 steps ahead of them, and so, but I think that he's not perfect. There's no doubt that he's not perfect, you know. But I think that I just think that God wants him in there, and I think there was a lot of presidents that God did not want in there, but again, we have our free will. I think that you know, Bush's were, you know, George Bush Sr. was a crook, and George Bush Jr. was an idiot, and Barack Obama was basically you know, he was just basically doing what they told him to do. You know, it's in my book. There's a picture of the Pope with Barack Obama and one with Trump. And with Barack Obama, they're laughing and chuckling. And with Trump, the Pope is pissed. You could tell he's got a scowl on his face and he's not happy at all. And so I really think, and you just see all the vindictiveness and the hatred.
Something happened. I mean, I agree with you, because like it does, in the terms of, it just seemed like the way that the Republicans and the Democrats were, you know, like what is about him that makes you like he was. It does seem like he wasn't supposed to get it, and something made him get it. You know? that does seem like that.
I think that God went and, you know, again, it comes down to, you know, God has a lot more power than people think, you know, and I think that he just, that God put him into power the last minute, and we're basically, I think that we're living in Book of Revelation's time period. I don't know if you consider yourself Christian or not, but I think that we're living in Book of Revelation's time period. I don't know if we're in any tribulation period or not. I have no idea.
My true thought, and I say this respectfully, only because look, we're here. I come in peace, and I feel like you guys are doing a great work with this. So that's where we connect. If I could speak honestly, and not to be disrespectful of anyone's religion, I was a Christian. I was raised Catholic, and I, you know, later on I went the non-denominational route, and then there was a point where I started going to. I think the only thing I didn't try was Islam. But like, I think I had gone to, like, I found myself in a Jewish congregation. I went to, there was like an Egyptian thing going on, because I felt like I was more getting in touch with my ancestors, or like, you know, like, so I feel like I did a little bit of a round robin. And what I walk away with, if I can say this safely, is that it was a way, like, I feel like organized religion is a way to get us on the same page. Once we're on the same page, it is acted out. Like in other words, this book was not made for no reason. That, like, the people that when I learned about King James, that kind of sent shivers down my spine. I only recently learned about him, and I realized how much he had to do with, you know, getting his version of the Bible. And then I learned that he was a lot to do with the 13 states. And then I thought to be like, wait a minute, this something is not right. You know, then
there's definitely, I agree. I mean, I think that organized religion, most of it is just is a mechanism of control.
Yes.
And I agree. And Rice McLeod, I think, said it so well. I got a lot of my material from him, and he's former Attorney General of the Republic of Texas, and he's dead now. But he used to say the biggest problem in this world is third parties, and all lawyers go into court and they say this guy did this and this guy did that, and they don't have any first-hand knowledge of anything. And he said, and then he hit the nail on the head, in my opinion, because he said, why on earth would you get some third-party preacher involved in your relationship with God?
Yes.
And so, your relationship with God is between you and God.
That's
true.
true.
Really.
Yes.
And I'm not opposed to organized churches, but I think that they're definitely a mechanism of control, and there's a lot of corruption.
Yes.
And as far as the Roman cult is concerned, there's some of my best friends are Catholic. And they've been telling me about the satanic nature of the Roman cult for years, and I just refused to believe it.
Yeah.
Until it just became so much evidence that it's just hard to deny, you know?
Yes.
And so I think there's good and bad in all of them. And
Yes. That's the sad part, because there's actually good
you have
here,
to,
like
have to
in
come
all
to
of
your own conclusions.
Yes. Yeah.
And but again, I'm more of a, I go along with what Rice McLeod says, is why on earth would you want some third-party preacher involved in your relationship with God, It's between you and God,
Yes. Yeah. And the thing, what I can say is I do believe in a higher power. I know that there's a creator.
For sure.
I just think he expresses himself through us more than, and like you said, any third party. I think we're the Christ. That's how I feel. I feel like we are the Christ. Like the Bible is sort of, because even when you look at what Christ says, he's kind of, there was times when he would basically tell you, no, it's you. Like it's in you. Like, so
right.
I think I'm more of that.
We're all vessels of the Lord. We're all
Yeah.
connected. We're all part of each other.
Yes.